Hi, this is the first part of the last lesson on inequalities for this unit. This is on solving and graphing two-step inequalities, part one. So it's very similar to the other type of two-step equations of decimals and fractions and rational numbers and whatnot. And here, look, example number one. There's a decimal right there. So we're going to jump right in. Okay, so if I give you the inequality, and I want you to graph it also, so we'll hold off on that for a minute. If I have 2y plus 2.5, and I say that that is greater than or equal to 16.5, so now we need to figure out, well, what that is. I'm going to do my balance line. I'm going to do it back here so it doesn't look too awkward. First step is always rewrite. And again, we're just going to pretend that it's just like an equation. What would you normally do on an equation? Well, I would move the constants all to one side. So instead of plus 2.5, I'm going to subtract 2.5 from both sides. So all I would have left, well, this is 0. 2y that is greater than or equal to, that doesn't change. Well, 0.5 minus 0.5 is 0, so we're good. And 16 minus 2 is 14. So now I know 2 times y is greater than or equal to 14. I'm going to rewrite. Well, they're multiplying, and the inverse operation of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we get y is greater than or equal to 7. Okay. Remember, we have to choose our number from the number line before we can do our check. So we got to come down here first. 7 is my focus number, so that's why I've centered it around. I've made some numbers that are bigger. I've picked some numbers that are smaller. If you want to go all the way to 0, that's fine. So I want y to be greater than or equal to. Well, equal to means closed circle, because if it's equal to, 7 is part of the answers. And then y is bigger than 7. Well, is 6 bigger than 7? 5, 4, no. However, 8, 9, and 10 all bigger. And again, I bring this up. The negatives are over this way. The negatives are over here. A negative will never be bigger than a positive, so you got to go towards positive infinity. Okay. Let's choose a number that is bigger than 7. I'm going to go with 10. I don't have to go with a number that's right next to 7. I can always go with whatever. Let's go with 10. So I'm going to check and see if 2 times 10 is plus 2.5. Is that bigger or equal to 16.5? Well, 2 plus 10 is 20. Plus 2.5. So 0.5 plus, well, there's no decimal, so it's got to be 0.5. And 20 plus 2 is 22. Is definitely greater than or equal to 16.5. So our check works. Our graph looks good. Smiley face. And that's it. Two-step equations. It's the same as if it was an equation. The only thing different that we're doing is we're graphing the answer. That's it. If I put equal 16.5, then the dot would be the only part of the graph. We could still graph it. It'd be a dot. And that's that. Second example, and there's only 2 examples. I'm going to do 2 examples on part 1, and then I believe 2 examples on part 2. So quick videos towards the end of this unit. Negative x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 14. Well, let's do my balance line. I'm doing it behind the inequality, so it doesn't look too sloppy with like the alligator teeth and everything, you know. I'm going to rewrite. Okay. Well, the inverse of adding 6 is subtracting 6. It's minus 6 from both sides, or add negative 6. You can add negative 6, that's fine. This is 0. Negative 4x is greater than or equal to 8. Well, negative 4 times x, right, because that's what this is, negative 4 times x is greater than or equal to 8. The inverse of multiplying by negative 4, opposite of multiplying is dividing. I'm going to divide both sides by -4. And there's the key part. This equals 1. X. I took 8 divided by -4, and I got -2. I divided both sides by -4. If you go back to multiplying and dividing, because that's what this is, I have to reverse, I have to flip to my other inequality symbol. So this is going to be less than or equal to. I still have the equal to sign, but now it's less than or equal to -2. Make sure you do that. That's the one thing I notice a lot of people forget. Well, -2 is my focus number. It's equal to, because it's less than or equal to -2. Well, less than -2, if I put a positive or even 0, 0 is actually bigger than -2. So I can't go towards the positives. I have to go towards the other negatives. Okay? Let's do our check. Let's use -3. So I go up here. -4 times -3 plus 6. Is that greater than or equal to 14? It's a great question. A negative times a negative is a positive, and we get 12 plus 6. Is that greater than 14? Well, 2 plus 6 is still 8. So we got 18. Is that greater than 14? Absolutely, $18 is better than $14. So we're good. Two really simple, straightforward examples. Nothing too catchy about these. The only new trick is still, well, we're graphing our answers now. That's not too crazy. But this changing the inequality symbol, that's pretty major. So we have to be pretty careful about that. There's one more part to this, and then that's the end of the unit. Look forward to seeing you done.